You know, Dennis, I'm thinking that with so few participants, maybe we should just go ahead and unmute everyone.
Yeah, you can do that. And I just ask people, I'm going to go through this presentation. If you have a burning question, that is great. If the question can be done shortly, in a short manner, I'll try to answer it. I'll have many of the answers that I think you may be asking for, but probably not all of them. Okay, so I'll let you know too. All right, because fraud is kind of an interesting field. So you go ahead and take it away, Debbie.
Okay, well, welcome. My name is Debbie Jensen, and I am a volunteer for New Knowledge Adventures, which we call NKA. So if ever you hear that, that's what it means. And AARP, I've been doing this since, I think the second semester that they started. So 5.5 years, almost 6. And I teach classes and I also attend classes. And I am in charge of all the facilitators. And today I'm the facilitator. NKA is something that started actually in the Pocatello area at Idaho State University with AARP and Idaho State University as a group that got together and decided that old people needed more education, that they enjoyed learning things. So NKA was started in that area and then went to Idaho Falls. And that was about 15 years ago. And they teach classes, they range from cooking classes and craft classes and history classes and painting classes and all different kinds of crafts and cards, all different types of cards. And then from there, the people that were in the classes often form a group, like say, Pinochle. There are currently 20 some of us that get together for Pinochle. Well, did get together. Now we all get together on the internet and we play on the internet with each other, which is kind of fun too. But so it slowly came to the Boise area, and it was Idaho State University, the YMCA, and AARP. And we had up to 100 classes some semesters a while back, and they were very, very well attended. But because of the pandemic, we decided to do Zoom classes, and we were actually the first in the state that was doing that. Now I notice that a lot of other states are doing it, Hawaii and a lot of states. And the thing is that you can still get this type of education. All of the people who participate in NKA, all of them are volunteers. Nobody gets paid except for the person at AARP who runs it. And then there is one clerical person who sends out all of the notices and whatever. But other than that, the instructors and the facilitators are unpaid. And so we have a lot of organizations that help us with the class. And Dennis is one of those people who has a great deal of knowledge in scams and whatever. He moved here from the Seattle area and was a high school teacher at that time. And so I'm gonna tell you, Dennis, take it away.
Okay, thank you, Debbie, and thanks to both of you for showing up here. This is going to be kind of fun, and I'm going to take my time, go through this. This is kind of like part one of the imposter scams, and there's quite a few imposter scams. We got, so we're going to take this in 2 parts, and you didn't have to sign up for both parts because I tried to make them standalone meetings. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to screen share a few things here. First thing I'm going to screen share is a document that I think that you should have, and that I think was sent to you. And I'm scrolling down the first page of it. On this second page, if you can see this, if you can't see it, shout out. But if you can see it, what I wanted you to have which is probably one of the most important documents you can have, is a list of phone numbers and websites, if they put it up there, for if you find yourself into a scam situation, you need somebody to call or some organization to call, then this list right here are the phone numbers and the list. And I'll be going over some of those and I'll mention them. And if possible, if I remember, I'll let you know that it's on the list. So you don't have to scribble down phone numbers. And so that'll help be a little bit more efficient here. I hope that's helpful for everybody. So I'll do that. And then I'm going to go back to screen share. Also, if you have on your Zoom the toolbar list where you can actually click on participants, then you can see who's here. And also you can click on chat, and it should slide both of those over to your right of the Zoom screen. And you can make the Zoom screen a little bit larger if you want. But you'll notice that I have something already in the chat. And what that is, it is the link to the evaluation sheet, which I'll also put this up at the very end. All right, and so that's where we're headed with this. So I'm going to go ahead and screen share the presentation here. All right. Okay. So again, I want to welcome you. This is part one of imposter scams. My name is Dennis Rockwood, as Debbie mentioned, and I've been involved with AARP scam and fraud fighter for about 5 years now. 3 of those years in Seattle, actually 2.5, and then 2.5 here now. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the IRS scam, tech scams, computers, Sweepstakes, the scam, and the tax imposter scam. And so we're going to talk about those. And then next week, I believe I'm talking about 4 others. And these are the most popular ones, the most often that are reported. Okay, open that screen. All right. So I think most of us could probably write this down as the definition of an imposter. But essentially, it's anyone, an imposter is a person who pretends to be somebody else. And that little character I've got up here are the different types of imposters that we might run into in our lives. And I'm sure that you have run into 1 or 2 of these, or know of someone who has. And that's part of the key here, is because you're going to find that the best thing we can do as adults trying to spread the word here is talk to people. That really is. Imposters are dishonest people, and all they were interested in is stealing your money. They're not want to be your friends. They're very good actors, and they also want to get as much personal information as they possibly can. And they'll reach you a number of different ways. They can call you on the phone, or can send you an email, or both, or text you, or knock on your door in the case of someone who wants to help rebuild your deck, that sort of thing. So they're out there, and they're alive and well. The whole industry is about $50 billion. All scams and frauds come to about $50 billion. And so these imposter scams are a good portion of that. Now, the word fraud and scam, they kind of are used interchangeably. And so fraud is actually a legal term. Scam is not a legal term. Usually, if you hear about scammers getting caught, then the next part of the article that you read about are going to talk about the fraud that they could have committed. But it's an illegal plan or a dishonest trick to get your money. And I just want you to let you know that now the scammer only wants to get you on the street and homeless. And they'll keep coming after you even then. But being with AARP, the question would come, well, why are seniors picked on? Well, first off, I want you to know that most seniors that I know, and probably you know, are polite, they're trusting, and we respect authority. We were brought up this way. That's the way we were brought up. In this day and age, there's a lot more skepticism, and we have we're a little more shy because of the pandemic, and we have gotten less trustworthy. But by and large, we are as a group. A couple of big things is that scammers know that seniors, we have the nest egg. And so if you're going to go after dollars, you might as well go after the biggest source of dollars. And of course, seniors are at home more. Of course, this day and age, that's not necessarily true. There's our whole population is probably home more. But seniors are more likely to have a landline. I don't know if you have a landline. I gave mine up probably about 5 years ago. Or you have a cell phone, or both. A lot of times seniors are a little less savvy in terms of technology and computers. Well, here from us, I'm not really tech oriented, or I'm not tech savvy, which is not necessarily true. It's just that they don't know as much as they would like to know. A lot of times seniors are single, either by choice or maybe their spouse has passed away. And in this day and age, you probably have heard about, maybe you've been feeling lonely yourself. And so that's a big part of it. So if a phone rings or you get an email, you're more likely to want to engage. And as we'd like to, everybody, I myself, I like talking, and sometimes I go days without seeing anybody or talking to anybody. Another thing that happens as we age, our memory is affected in some cases. Some people could live to 100 and they're just sharp as a tack. Some people in their 60s start to lose some of their memory through Alzheimer's or through dementia. And the main thing here is that seniors are less likely to report a scam. So we're going to get right into it, and I'll give some examples here. And these are not the only examples. On that list of organization names and phone numbers, I put the FTC, stands for Federal Trade Commission, and I have a phone number there, and it's on that list of yours. You might want to check that one off, because if you're looking at IRS scams, you can go to the FTC.org site and scan for IRS scams, and you'll see a whole list of them there. And I encourage you to do this to any scam that you might be interested in hearing about or learning more about. But IRS scams will usually come this way. You'll get a phone call, or you're going to get an email from an imposter. These are going to be imposters because the IRS hasn't called you, indicating that you owe money. And the IRS, it'll go something like this. Hello, John, this is Dennis Rockwood. I'm with the IRS. My badge number is, they may give a badge number, probably faster than you can write it down. And you owe the government about $3,500. And that's on your 2015 tax return. Well, I don't know about you folks, but I can't remember my tax return from last year, even though we had a postponement of that this year in order to file. So they're hoping that you wouldn't, obviously you're not going to remember that. And then they're going to follow that by asking you to send them money, and they'll ask you to send it by Western Union. We're going down to get some gift cards with the money on it. And you've got to do it within 24 hours, 48 hours, because there's a warrant out there for your arrest. Now, you might say that you can't believe that anybody would bite on that. But if the IRS were to contact you, I can guarantee you that your blood pressure might go up a little bit. Your heart rate would go up a little bit. So scammers know full well that if they can get you nervous, scared, fearful, they're going to have your attention, and you're more likely to respond quickly. Well, you need to know that the IRS does not call. Now, there's an exception to that, and that is if you call the IRS, and there's a direct number down here, a 1040 number. If you call them and ask them to call you, or you talk to an agent and they'll say, well, I have to get back to you, what's your number? That's different. That's different, because you can get the agent's name and all that. The IRS, if they're going to contact you, probably be by mail. So I want you to know that in any case, anything has to do with the IRS, you need to report it. And that's the key throughout all of these scams, is that reporting is absolutely necessary. In other words, if there's any way, any chance of us capturing these people, these criminals, and get them in jail or have them arrested, it's only because we reported them, and so they follow that link. You and I can't necessarily arrest someone and take him down to jail for scamming us, but we can certainly report it to the FCC and other organizations. And you can see that list, and there's several organizations that you can report to, and that's really key. Last thing here on all scams is to sign up for Fraud Watch Network. Now you'll notice in the right-hand corner there that it says AARP. Well, that's the organization that I'm speaking from. But I want you to know that you do not have to be a member of AARP, worthwhile though, but you don't have to be a member in order to sign up for Fraud Watch Network. It's an excellent resource that will come to you either through email or through the mail or both. And there's a number down here which is also on that list that I sent you. There's some simple, I call them common sense, but when it comes to scamming, I don't want to use that word because we all have common sense, but we're all susceptible to being scammed. Because scammers, they catch people who are very well educated, have very well respected jobs, careers, are very busy, and have different occupations all over the place, who say they never get scammed, and then you find out they have been scammed or will get scammed. So scamming is up for everybody. That's why it's a $50 billion industry. However, my suggestion, this is the biggest one for anything, and that's to hang up. Just hang up. If you're talking to a stranger and they've gotten through to you, you don't know them, hang up. A lot of people like to play games with them, and I just recommend don't play the games because these folks are very good at getting information out of you. But just hang up. And once you get off, look up. So if it is the IRS, look up the IRS on your favorite Google or your search engine site that you like to use. I use Google, and call up a real phone number. Call up, and that's when you call up. So if you hang up, you've disconnected the conversation. You look up a regular number, the real number, the organization, and then call up and verify it. We could also throw in here is you hang up and start talking to your friends and neighbors or your spouse or whoever you can talk to. Because once again, if we talk to our friends and neighbors and our social networks, we're going to find out a lot about scamming and scammers, and we'll start to shut them down that way. They just can't get to us. And again, there's the direct number for the IRS, and you probably recognize the last four, the 1040. It's probably a form that you have filled out in the past. That's a real number, all right. And so whatever number that the scammer is giving you is not that good. The text scam. Now you may have heard of this scam, but this is right up there, particularly with the number of people, also known as social media scams. But it's right up there because more and more of us are using these cell phones, and they're considered smartphones, which means they're a computer. And so the way they'll work, and most often, is you'll get a call from tech support. Hi, my name is Dennis Rockwood, and I'm a contractor with Microsoft. There's my legitimacy. Or they'll contact you through your device, your computer, and you start up your computer, and it freezes. And on the freeze, the screen says, "Don't shut down the computer. Call this number immediately." And so I want you to know, in both instances, your computer or the phone, it is a phone call. Okay, so on your device, it's been frozen. That is a type of phone call. And what the scammer wants you to do is click on that or call that number that they have on the screen. It's like a phone call. And what is their objectives? They want to control your device. They either want to load a virus or sell useless software to you. And they also want to get your credit card and your bank numbers, because the way this will work is if it's on your device and you call that number, they're going to let you know who they are, and that's an imposter's name, company name, and that for $59 or $69 or $99, if you give them control of your device, they will verify whether you have a virus or not, And once they have your device, they're going to tell you that, oh yeah, you got a virus. And for those fees, $59, $79, $8, $99, doesn't make any difference. It's a small fee that they can get in there and they can clean up your computer and make it all good. All right. And so all they need is the payment. So they've got you fearful. They've got you concerned. There's a couple things in my life that I really want to protect. One's my computer, the other's my car. So if my car's got a problem, I want to get it taken care of. Same with my computer. I kind of rely on both of those pieces of equipment. Well, so I whip out my credit card and give them my credit card number, and there you go. They're off and running. They've got some information, and your credit card is going to be used, and not the way you want it to be used. The other way tech scams operate is they do pop-ups. Now, pop-ups, and I would imagine that you get your share of pop-ups. I get my share of pop-ups, and I try to get them into spam as fast as I can. But they're advertisements and error messages that you didn't ask for, and you really don't want to have them. And what I've got on the screen here is a computer that is somewhat smart because it's got some malware in there, and it says threats detected, and they're telling you that you have a screen that's not working well. They might use logos from trusted companies, from websites, and the message warns you of a security issue and for you to call to help. Well, the way you avoid this one is for sure, don't call the phone number. Legitimate tech companies are not going to contact you by phone, email, or text messages to tell you there's a problem with your computer. They just won't do that. Now, I myself have, in Boise, I have my favorite little computer repair place. I think it's Boise Computer Repair. Not apply for them or anything, but I'll call them and they will call me back. So that's a different kind of communication. And usually they can help me right there on the telephone, but a lot of times they're busy and they'll call me right back. Also, pop-ups from real tech companies are not going to will never ask you to call a phone number. Never going to ask you to do that. They want you to use your malware that you already have. So let's just say that you were scammed using a tech scam. And there's a lot of this. It's a very growing part of the scammer's business on the tech scams, because more and more of us are using it. More and more of us now are using our computers more because we're somewhat isolated with the pandemic. But let's say you paid by credit or debit card. You're going to want to contact your credit card company or bank, say within 48 hours, because you get off the phone, you've already made the deal with the scammer, and you're starting to get buyer's remorse. Well, if you paid by credit card, call the credit card company and have them cancel the charge. Have them cancel the charge. Now, even if the scammer has actually already executed it, the credit card companies will, in fact, you explain what happened, they will reverse the charge. Debit card is a different animal. And I would recommend, and I've done this myself about 4 years ago, I stopped using my debit card unless it was some type of an emergency. Because as you know, the debit card is cash. And it's a little bit harder to get the cash back rather than a credit card. So if it happens to be done by a debit card, you're going to want to contact the company that issued the card and ask if they will refund the money. And I think there's a good chance they will once you explain that. Number one, you're their customer. All right. If you gave remote access to your computer, what you need to do, and you need to do this rather quickly, is update your security software. In other words, you want a way to block them from getting into your computer again, because they've already got that virus. And then you're going to want to run a scan and delete anything identified as a problem. If you give a remote access to your computer, this is where you want to take your computer, make an appointment, and take your computer down your trusted computer repair shop, because they have the ability quickly to run a scan and also clean your computer of that virus and anything else that might be happening to your computer at that time. And actually, they could also download some newer software, maybe update the software malware that you already have. Highly recommend that. Highly recommend that. If you gave your username and your password, you're going to want to change that password. And I know you probably have more passwords than you ever care to have. I certainly do. So you're going to want to change your password. And if you use that same password for other accounts or sites, like I do, you're going to want to change it there too. The main thing is you're probably going to want to change your new password to make it stronger than your old password. Some of you probably already have passwords that have 7 to 15 digits. But you want to be as creative as you possibly can, and you want to make that password something that you're going to remember, but no one else would probably be able to guess that from you. I had to get real creative with my passwords. Okay. Tips to avoid text scams. Again, hang up. If they call you, just hang up. Okay, I'm fine. Do not engage and verify. Want to ignore the pop-ups. Delete them. Or try this. If you open up your computer and it's frozen and you're nervous and you're a little bit scared, blood pressure starts going up, turn off your computer. Don't do what the screen's asking you to do. Turn off your computer and restart it. Because if you remember, I indicated that a freezing screen is like somebody ringing your telephone. You answer it, you're into a phone conversation again with a scammer. If you turn off your computer and restart it, you've hung up. I want you to think of that. You've hung up on the scammer. And that's really simple. And you can do that, and you'll find out your computer is back to where it used to be. Again, if that's happening, you might want to change your password, and also consider using Password Manager. Again, if you go to your favorite search engine and look up Password Manager, they will have several sites that you can go to, and then you can read them, how easy it is to set up a Password Manager. And it's free, but it's a way for you to organize all of your passwords and to keep them safe. And that's what I'm all after. And I use that as well, because I must have, with all the places, I must have 15 or 20 usernames, and the passwords are all over the place. And every time I get on a site, they want me to put in my username and my password. The main key in all of these situations is not to panic. Scammers are counting on fear, and they're counting on building a sense of urgency to trick you into making decisions. They're going to force you as best they can to make a snap decision. You have no time to waste. You've got to do it now. Back to the IRS scam. One of the IRS scams is they're going to tell you that you owe money, you have to pay it soon, and you've got an arrest warrant out on your name. If they don't receive the payment within 24 or 48 hours, the sheriff's coming to arrest you. They're going to come to your door and arrest you, or they're going to come to your house, take you away, and throw you in jail. Now, if you don't go along with them and they continue to come after you, harass you essentially, you're going to find their tone is going to change. And they'll go from this somewhat helpful individual to someone who is very testy, to someone who's actually yelling at you. And again, hang up and just keep hanging up, and then you can and report it. This is one of my favorite scams. Don't we wish we all could win a sweepstake? Case study. When I was over in Seattle, making phone calls and calling people that have been scammed, this one here was one of the saddest ones that I came across. And the case study was this person had been getting literature about sweepstakes. It didn't necessarily have to be the Publishing Clearinghouse, which is the photo I've got up here, because Publishing Clearinghouse is actually a legitimate company, and they legitimately hand out pretty nice sizable checks. Well, scammers got a hold of that too. So they'll spoof. In other words, they'll pretend to be from Publishing Clearinghouse. Well, he had signed up for subscriptions with, I don't know if it was Publishing Clearinghouse, I can't remember that, but with an organization that offered sweepstakes. And he was going to win $700,000. And so he first got called and said he was a winner. You had just won. And you're going to win $750,000. But what we need from you, in order to say the check coming to you, is we need to have you pay the taxes. And it comes to about like 0.5%. And so they'll tell him it's $3,750 or whatever half a percent is of 750,000. And they want them to do it by Western Union or some other way, gift cards, and they do it quickly because they only have about 48 hours in order to receive that because they're still waiting for the first place winner. And this is you're winning second place, and the first place winner doesn't come through quickly, then you are going to go be bumped up to first place. Man, have they got you wheeling now? Because now you're going to first place. First place is $1.5 million and a car and a 10-day all expense paid vacation in order to claim the prize. So they want you to send the money, and they want you to send the money quick. If they don't receive it, they're going to call you back, and they're going to be a little testy. Last chance. Well, the key here is never send money. Never send money to claim a prize. Well, this individual that I was talking to and talking through and writing down his story kept wondering why he wasn't winning. So he would continue to enroll, and he was receiving gifts because they would send you little tinker toys, little toys. And he had a garage full of these. He went out and took a picture of it and showed me. The thing was half full of these things he would never use. This is a bunch of junk toys. And he had ended up by spending $22,000 of his life savings, and he was about down to zero. And he just couldn't understand why he wasn't winning, because everything they sent him, they had pictures, photos of people that looked just like him. So, and smiling and all that, and getting the money. So why not him? Foreign lotteries, and a lot of these scams and sweepstakes and lotteries come from Jamaica or Nigeria, and anything outside our country is illegal. All right, that's another thing you can be putting in the back of your head. And then payment by gift cards and wire transfers and cash or sign, definitely scam. They're definitely scams. And the second call that you get from these folks will sound something like this. Well, listen, Mr. Johnson, I just want you to know that I've just gotten word. I'm the photographer for the Sweepstakes organization here, and I'm just about ready to get on a plane, and I want to make sure I come out there and I take a picture of you with the claim here and hand you your check. We're going to hand you your check. So we just make sure you get that money in. As soon as they get that money in, I'm on an airplane. So you can see that they pass it on to another scammer because they're in this to make money. They want you poor. Now, what you can do is once you get off the telephone, and you can do this with all these scams, is check with the legitimate company, or you can check and see if it's a legitimate company. And I believe I may have put that phone number on that sheet as well. But when I first heard about this, when this person told me this, I immediately went online to find out what the real number for Publishing Clearinghouse was. I called them. They are a legitimate business. And they told me, they said, we have been spoofed, which means defrauded by their name being used, probably 5 out of 10 times. And in other words, it's just very, very prolific that they get used, and spoofing is big time. So they get these calls all the time, and no, there's no contest going on right now. And they can also check the name. So if you were interested, you can call and find out if you won. And of course, you can't win something which you haven't entered. I just want you to know that. And that's part of the common sense part. So they're going to contact you by phone, by email, by mail, social media, all of the above, and they are pros. I got to tell you, some of the things you might get in your mailbox, they look like they're professionally done because they are professionally done, and they've got the latest software out there, and they can make things look really real. All right, they just have to be cautious, and you can read between. Sometimes their spelling is not correct. Sometimes on these things you'll see they'll do bulk mail. And of course, they're saying you're one of the winners now, but somehow you look at the postage stamp. It's not a stamp; it's bulk mail, which means it's going out to what? Millions of people. That's how special you are. That's how special you are. It's going out to millions of people. So you might want to read the fine print for missing information. I want you to know it never gets that far in my house. In Seattle, I pick up the mail after work, come down, park, go to my recyclable can, and the first thing that goes in there, I don't even open it. It goes straight into the trash can, straight in the trash can. So it doesn't even get inside my house. I figure that way I'm protecting myself, because I too like to think I could get something for nothing. Carefully check your odds for winning. You can check that with the organization they say they are. You can check, if you check the organization, you might find out that they're scammers. You can do that easy by just typing in the name of the organization who sent that to you, and then add a word, scam, and it'll come up, and you'll see that the number of times that they have been considered a scam, and you can read about those. Anything you can do to say no to these folks is really good, and spread the word. You gotta spread the word. You never want to provide personal information. If you need to, I guess, they probably have your name already, and they may already have your address, and that's somewhat okay, but I want you to know that's a slippery slope in itself, because once somebody has your name and address, it's probably not too hard for them to go searching around the website to find out your phone number, and then possibly start to take your identity. That's the scary one. You want to think twice about entry forms that are in bulk mail, and also you want to, see you later. You don't want to call, and you want to avoid numbers that have a 900 area code. Here's a golden ticket, which generate high per-minute charges, and you won't know it, but you're getting charged. And when you dial them, and one of the things they like to do is toss you around. So you call, they answer the telephone, and they say, well, just a minute, I need to put you on hold, I'll transfer you over. And it's minutes later that you're paying. And a lot of those phone calls are going out of the country, which can add up quite a bit. Avoid email or online contest entries. Just don't do them. And don't sign up at a public location because of the possibility of ID theft. A public location could be Starbucks, could be a fair. You go to, I know that Boise has, and Idaho has a great fair. It comes in August, and I enjoy going to that. And they have booths where you can sign up for different things, and they want your name, address, and phone number. And there's a pretty high risk there that scammers can pick that information up. Reporting. It's really important that you report this. I think I mentioned this already, is that if we don't report, scammers go free. If we report, there's a chance that they might not go free, and we can stop them. And I think reporting actually makes you feel good. It's going to take some time, a little bit of time, but reporting sweepstakes scams, if you've got that sheet, you can check off that ftc.gov, and there's a complaint site you can go to, and just click on that. In this case, because we live in the great state of Idaho, I would also suggest that you report to the state attorney general. They have got a division there that takes care of fraud and has a complaint form. And they are pretty aggressive about going after these folks, because they don't like money being taken away from the citizens of our great state. Also, if it comes by mail, they could be involved with postal fraud. And there you can take the piece of the literature that you received up to your local post office, or there's a number there for the U.S. Postal Inspector, and notify them about what's going on. The main thing is to report. And a lot of us don't do that. A lot of us don't do that. Sweepstakes, imposter scams. Again, back to how you avoid them. Hang up, throw away, delete, do not engage, and verify. All this comes down to is have conversations with your social group. If you don't have a social group, have conversations maybe with your family about this. I know we have a very vibrant AARP senior center down there. It's excellent. And right now we can't meet, but they have tons of information. You can call them and they can direct you to where to go. Boise Senior Center is also a great source to contact. The main thing is, if we can talk to other people about this. One example is, if I'll go to a social event before the COVID, we go to a social event and I introduce myself and say I'm a volunteer for AARP, and I've been involved with some fraud presentations. And I'll ask, has anybody been involved in a fraud or a scam like that? And they may themselves not want to admit that they have. That's kind of hard to do. Shouldn't be, but it is. But they'll say somebody else has, and they'll start talking. There's a 2-hour conversation going on right there. So it's easy to get into a conversation and learn about this stuff. Tax scams. There are many tax scams out there, and I just want you to know that, again, if you would go to the FTC or the IRS and then kind of look for tax scams or frauds, on both those sites, you'll see them illustrated, examples to be laid out, and all of that. But this is where somebody has got your social security number, and I'm going to be pretty specific here about a situation that may have happened to you, or you know somebody's happened to, is that you file a tax return, but you find out a little bit later that somebody's already filed a tax return on you. In my particular case, it happened in 2012, and I filed it in March. And the reason I filed it in March is I was waiting for my 1099s. They were coming a little bit later, and you're probably familiar with the 1099 and the investments that you have. You're waiting for the dividend or the taxes that you might have to pay on those things. And as soon as I got it, I submitted my taxes. To find out later from the IRS, I get a letter from them, not a phone call, a letter indicating that my return had already been refunded, and this was a duplicate return. And also said if I had any questions or wanted to challenge that, there was a number I could call. So I called the number, had a nice conversation, discovered that yes, my return had been already refunded, not to me, but to someone else, and that I needed to kind of reconstruct my life again. In other words, my identity had been stolen to that extent. And it took about 14 months, a lot of work on my part, had to refile to get it. And the refund I was going to get wasn't all that earth-shattering to me, but it was a principle of the thing. And I found out a little bit later that refunds, and this is during 2012, just after the IRS had their funding cut by a third, so they didn't have the resources in which to follow up on these things, that 500 checks had gone to the same address. 500 checks to the same address. And mine was one of those. And I kept thinking, well, how hard would it be? And so, but it happened. And, I think it was happening in part because they didn't have the funding to follow up on these things. So you want to get you'll get the word from the IRS, and you want to return your information as soon as you can. The impersonation phone call, this definitely happens, and we've already kind of covered this. But this is the one that most often people will be involved with, in that phone call you get saying that you owe money. And so you can be threatened with arrest, deportation, if there's a question about your legality being in this country, or you can have suspension of your driver's license, all of this stuff, just enough to scare you to pay. So here's some tips for protecting yourself from tax scams. And these are all things that we can do now. And that is, one is to be organized and file early. I'm not organized, but I try to file early. I'm getting better at being organized, so I have all my information. Get a lower tax refund. What I did after reconstructing myself is I decided that no longer am I going to have the government owe me money. I'm going to try to get my refund down to zero or close to it, and even maybe the other side where I owe the government $50, because the work I had to put into reconstructing it was a lot. And then you have to be really diligent with your passwords. You got to have some safe place to put these things, and I would not necessarily put them hanging around on your computer, particularly on your C drive. If you use a thumb drive, it might be a safer way to do that, or safe, put your passwords and your usernames. And update your cybersecurity regularly. We should be doing that. You should be taking your computer in to get it kind of tuned up, probably once a year. You do that probably for your car. You've got that machine going. Same thing with our computers. Remember that the IRS is not going to call you unless you've asked them to call you. And if you are a victim of tax fraud, you got to report it really quick, right? And then we have a wonderful department here in Idaho State Tax Commission, and those two numbers there, and I believe those are on that sheet that I gave you. and contact them. So the bottom line is, if you have been scammed or you feel like you've been defrauded, there's work you have to do. It's up to us. It's up to you and I to make sure that we report this and try our best to give the information so that we can catch these people and get them in jail where they belong. Okay. So, bottom line. Hang up, don't engage, and verify. I would encourage you to sign up for the AARP Fraud Watch Network. That number again is on that sheet. You don't have to be an AARP member. I encourage that as well. But the thing is that they will send you either through email or in print form really good information about fraud. And you can share this with your family and with your friends. The more we share, the better we're going to be. You can go right now, in 5 minutes from now, you can go to the ftc.org and learn about current specific frauds. Now, obviously, there's more frauds than the 4 that I've gone over, and they're out there. And if you have a name for it, you can find out more information about it and with examples. Freeze your credit. Now, I haven't mentioned this, but I want you to know it's free now. As about a year and a half ago, you can freeze your credit through these 3 organizations here, and it's free. And I did it about 2 years ago. And let me explain just a little bit about this. You can freeze your credit. It has nothing to do with your credit score. Okay? And then if you need to use your credit for a purchase that would require a credit score, you can unfreeze your credit. The main thing about freezing your credit is that no one else can open up an account in your name if you freeze your credit, because they will have no credit score in order to open up an account. And so that's this real value there. And never give out personal information to strangers. Again, I repeat, sometimes this is hard, but I would stay connected with your family and friends. They're your lifeline when it comes to fraud, as well as organizations like the AARP. I want to thank you for attending, and I don't know if I probably have run out of time, but I wanted to let you know that if you have some things you want me to elaborate more on, there's a survey which I believe I'm going to go back in and get that we'd like you to take while you're on here, because you got to stay on for a few minutes. So let me go do that. I'm going to get out of stop share so you can actually see my face. Okay, there we go. I stopped sharing. And so I've got to go to that again. Oh, it's right there. So we haven't had a whole lot of chat. So if you have opened up chat, if you do that, you're going to see that there is a hot link right there, aarp.event.com. If you go to that, this would be your personalized review of the class, and I don't see it. I don't think Debbie, my facilitator, will see it. It's totally yours. And the only kicker is that you kind of have to fill this out while you're online. So if you've got that now and you've gone to chat, right, go ahead and click on that, and I'll hang with you. And then if there are some questions, I can also answer them. And since you can unmute yourself if you want to ask a question or want me to elaborate on any of the things that we have covered, you can feel free to do that. I also want you to know that there's a part 2 to this event coming up on the 12th of October. No, 15th of October, on 15th, part 2 of this, where I'll be covering such wonderful scams like romance scam, charity scam, and some of these other wonderful scams that somehow entrap seniors at a higher rate in terms of dollar loss. And then on the, I think it's the 12th, I believe, I have a presentation on ID theft. We'll go into a lot of detail about the ID theft. So if you haven't signed up, you can sign up for those. I do appreciate everybody coming. So I'll just stop talking now.
Dennis, thank you very, very much. As I said earlier to you, I always learn something no matter what the class is. And I see that I have some work to do on a few things. I've taken a lot of notes. So if everyone will please fill out your evaluation form, and then I think we're finished for today.
I don't see the evaluation form when I click on chat.
You don't see it?
Do you see the link there? It says HTTPS.
No,
Okay.
my chat window is blank and there's a to everyone type message here.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that. I'm going to paste it in and shoot it up there again.
I
So
see it.
there you go. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that. I may have put that link in too early before you came in or something. Not sure.
I would like to thank you very much. I appreciate your time and effort. This is very educational. Thank you.
Well, I can't do it without you. And that goes for everybody. It's up to all of us to see if we can get these jokers arrested. And, I think next week I get into Medicare scams. And that's probably the largest dollar scam out there. But as you go ahead and fill that out, once you're done, you're free to go to recess.
Oh, okay.
Oh, by the way, I did forget to tell you all that these classes are being recorded so that you'll be able to contact AARP and find out, where you can get it online. And then if you have people, friends or whatever that you want to share it with, it'll be there to be shared.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Debbie, because I think at least for my part, I want to share this with everybody on the planet. So I was very pleased that the ARP was willing to record this. It'll go to the cloud and it'll end up, I believe, as a YouTube out there. And I'm hopeful that it'll have the same title as the class. It probably will. And then you can share this with everybody and anybody.
Is it time to say goodbye?
Yeah, as soon as you're done, again, go to lunch, go to recess, go to the next class.
Oh, I thought you were bringing the lunch, Dennis.
Oh, I drank your coffee and you find your lunch on your porch.
Thank you very much.
I had a drone deliver it.
Well, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, take care. Thanks for joining us and have a great week. Be safe.
Well done. Thank you very much.
Yeah. All right. Looks like Garden Plaza is still there.
Is Garden Plaza, the Valley View still on?